You're listening to Popcorn in Orbit, a podcast for sci-fi lovers of all galaxies, hosted by filmmakers Jeremy Major and Ian P. Causer.
Welcome to the show. It's Jeremy Major here alongside Ian P. Causer. Hi, Ian.
Hello.
That's your cue. That's your cue.
Sorry. I am awake, I promise.
Oh, good. I know we're on different time zones, and that may be evident just from our accents. Who has the accent? Is it me or is it you? I'm not sure.
Well, I'm doing an English accent very effectively.
Oh, you're doing it. That's right.
Yeah. And I can tell from your accent you're from somewhere north of America.
Yeah, Ian is in the UK, the fine country of England.
Indeed.
And I'm here in Canada, but we're not here to talk about that so much. We're here to talk about science fiction, particularly in the movie realm.
Yes.
I think I've always been a bit of a closet sci-fi guy. Well, I think I didn't realize I was into sci-fi until more recently. And then
Really?
Yeah, then I realized I was in the closet, and then I came out of the sci-fi closet. If that makes any sense.
Yes, it does.
Oh.
I'm the opposite. I've always, since I first got into it when I was very small, it's something about sci-fi has just ensorcelled me my entire life.
Sorry, did you just say insaucelled?
Ensorcelled. I don't know if it's a real word, but Aaron Sorkin writes it. So
I get it, though. It's the right word for that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Aaron Sorkin wouldn't use it if it wasn't a word.
No, that's true.
No,
that's true.
But no, there's something that frees the imagination about science fiction that, and we both love all kinds of movies, all genres of movies.
We do.
No, we do. But science fiction is so limitless.
It is, isn't it?
In its scope.
I feel like a great place to start today would be to talk about how we lost our science fiction virginity, if I'm allowed to say that. Can I say that? This is edgy.
I think so. This
show is edgy. And we're filmmakers, right? And I think that's important to note. So we maybe have a little different perspective on this, maybe not, but we're also like fanboys in a large way. And so those first films were like really important, to our creative development, I would say, right? Would you agree with that?
Absolutely. And what's interesting is when you think back to what the first films were for me, they're not what you consider sci-fi classics now, but they led me to the sci-fi classics.
Right.
If that makes any sense at all.
Yeah.
Because I was 6 or 7 years of age. So you've got no real understanding of what is considered a great sci-fi movie over
it's true, isn't it?
Middle of the road.
Yeah.
You just know what you like and what grabs you.
Yeah.
If you want me to start, there were 2 movies, and I checked on it this morning, and they came out in the same year, 1986, which I'd have been 6 years. Yeah, I'd have been 6 years of age, going on 7. And the 2 movies that ring a bell for me was the first one, and probably the most important one, is Flight of the Navigator. Have you ever seen that?
Yes.
Yeah. You don't see it anymore anywhere. I haven't seen it streaming on anything or anything like that. But Flight of the Navigator,
right. It's faded away.
It has, yeah. I have a memory that a young Sarah Jessica Parker's in it. And that's all I can really remember about it in terms of the creative minds involved in the story.
So when was the last time you saw that movie? Like, have you seen it?
I probably haven't seen it. I probably watched it 30 or 40 times between the ages of 6 and 8.
Wow.
And never again since.
That's amazing.
It's strange, isn't it? It's something about it, that ship in the woods. And I think what it does is it makes you look for other things that are similar to it. You're looking for other stuff, or your parents are telling you about other stuff. I do remember, like, Flight of the Navigator led to my parents telling me that you got to watch E.T. Okay. And that's probably the point where you start to move into what we call classic, great science fiction.
That's right. So where did you see Flight of the Navigator?
I think I saw it at the cinema. I think.
Okay. So you were that young that it's a bit hazy.
Yeah, I'd have been. So if it was released in 86, I'd have been 6. So
right, okay, yeah, that's young.
My only prior cinema memory is The Jungle Book, when I would have been even younger than that. The cartoon Jungle Book. I think it was originally made years before it would have been re-released in the cinemas in 84, 85.
Right.
I think I saw it at the cinema, but I wouldn't put my mortgage on it. That's for sure.
Yeah.
All I do know is that we had a VHS of it that I kind of wore out.
Right.
And the second movie from 86, which I watched a lot of, but doesn't hold the same kind of emotional memory as Flight of the Navigator, was Short Circuit, Johnny
Oh, wow.
Five.
Yeah.
And I didn't realize until I literally Googled this morning that was 1986 as well, that was released.
Big year.
Yeah, big year. And again, probably haven't seen Short Circuit since I was 8 or 9, but watched it an awful lot then. Steve Guttenberg was in it. I think that was more of a comedy kind of.
Yes, it was. Now, what was that like largely stop motion, that movie? Do you recall?
I'm
trying
don't
to remember
remember
how
it
they
being
did
stop
it.
motion.
Yeah.
But it might well be. It's funny because when you say stop motion, I think straight away of like Jason and the Argonauts and Harryhausen films, which I did watch Jason and the Argonauts a lot as a kid.
Did you?
I hadn't even thought of that because I never considered it sci-fi, but of course it is. So that's really interesting that you bring that up because, so I don't know is the honest answer. See, we should really do our research before.
Yeah, we should really do some research.
Podcasting. Yeah. What about you? Where did your beginnings?
Really, the first science fiction, I guess, impression I had was E.T. But you have to understand, I was a very sensitive viewer. Okay. And it was in the theater at Center Mall in Hamilton. And my parents took me, and they were they thought it was a good idea. Because it seemed like a kid's film, but it really kind of screwed me up a little bit.
Really?
I found it so disturbing. And, especially, and I would be, I think I was about 5 or 6 at the time. And it was the scene where they were like all white in the bathroom.
Okay, yeah.
That just like disturbed me to my core. So I'm not actually sure if we got through the whole movie. There's a chance we had to leave because I was just really unsettled.
Okay.
Now, I've watched that movie in more recent times and quite enjoyed it. I think it's a great film. But at that age, no, it was horrifying. Which I feel like so many things in the 80s were like creepy or something. There was like a strange creepiness that like sticks with you. Do you know what I mean? I know my sister and I talk about this all the time with like kids shows, like TV shows. There were so many weird TV shows that just, I think I had nightmares about them and stuff. You know what I mean?
I think I do. Yeah. It's funny because it's.
I was maybe just more sensitive. I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, I think you were probably a bit more timorous child. Mm-hmm. I was probably the opposite. I was kind of, well, all the warnings that go out to children, those warnings were for me. They weren't for you.
Right.
The warnings scared you.
Yeah.
They're like, gee,
Yeah.
Of course I wouldn't run with scissors into the road.
Right.
Whereas
it was an invitation for you? Is that?
I think they were invented for kids like me who are going to do really stupid things and not live very long unless you taught them that you don't put a fork in a plug socket.
Right.
We're probably coming at it from different angles. What's interesting to me is we had a chat a couple of weeks ago about Alien, if you remember.
Right.
And we were talking about the infamous scene in Alien where the xenomorph bursts out of John Hurt's chest. And I don't know if this is an urban myth or not, but I've heard tell that Ridley Scott didn't tell the rest of the cast what was going to happen, so that their horrified reaction around that dinner table is real.
Can you imagine?
I know. Incredible. But I remember you saying, because I said it was shocking, when I saw that. I was too young to see it, really. And you said, but it was really cool.
Now, I was a lot older, when I did finally get around to seeing that movie.
So, okay, good. I just wanted to check on that, because if you find E.T. disturbing, but you think that's cool, then
that would be strange.
Something's not quite right.
That would be strange. And, similarly, probably the next movie I saw in the science fiction realm was Star Wars, and I didn't get through it. I found it disturbing. Yeah. And by that point, I was probably 10 or something. I don't know. And, just to give you a little insight into the time period, my parents, for some reason, I think they rented it, this video disc player, not laser disc, video disc, Do you remember that
Okay.
format?
I don't know.
It came before Laserdisc, and it looked pretty much like that. But it was like it was sort of like the size of a record, but thicker. And you'd like push this thing in there, and there was like a handle that went like this. The movie we got with it was Star Wars. It was the scene in the garbage chute. I
In the trash compactor.
Yeah, I couldn't take
Yeah.
it. Yeah, it's just too unsettling.
Yeah, I got a bad feeling about this. That was the line. that was the line.
You're right.
First time it was
You're
uttered in Star Wars universe by Han
Yeah.
Solo as the walls start to come in.
Yeah.
That's because, as you well know, Jeremy, I am a big Star Wars fanboy.
You are.
Wearing a Star Wars jumper as we
You
speak.
are indeed. And I'm looking at memorabilia behind you from Star Wars.
Yeah,
spectacular.
We've got an Imperial Star Destroyer. We've got an AT-AT Walker there. We've got the Imperial
Stunning.
Probe Droid. That's that one.
Stunning.
Great podcasting. They can't see any of it.
It's very descriptive.
Yeah, my route to Star Wars was probably a little more circuitous than most people of our generation, because I came to it quite late. The moment I knew I was going to make movies or die trying was the first 8 minutes of Raise the Lost Ark. My memory, which is clearly wrong, because this is impossible, is I genuinely look back and think that I didn't breathe for the first 8 minutes of Raise the Lost Ark. I'm just like a gasp at how amazing this is. And so that would have been about 1987. I found Indiana Jones. I'd have been 7 or 8 years of age. And I wore out the Blockbuster videotape. Like every time we went in, that's to the point where my parents would have been better off buying the original film stock from Lucasfilm, let alone a copy of the VHS, because every day I want Raise the Lost Ark, Raise the Lost Ark, Raise the Lost Ark.
Yeah.
And I'll never forget my dad telling me, you should really watch Star Wars. You'd love it. And I wasn't I'd heard of it. I had buddies on the playground. They all talked about Luke Skywalker and this, and it just didn't appeal to me at all.
Yeah.
Possibly because it's popular. And for some reason, that's the kind of mind frame I had as a kid, was if it's popular, I'm going to steer clear.
Interesting.
It's not cool.
Right.
It's just my personality. And the way Dad got me to sit down to watch Star Wars one Sunday afternoon was by saying, well, Indiana Jones is in it. You know,
Right, okay.
Harrison Ford.
Yeah.
He's the star. And that's the hook that got me to watch it. And he doesn't appear in the first movie for 45 minutes.
Yeah,
so I
true.
remember watching, I kept turning to my dad going, you lied to me. Where is he? Where's Indy? But then when he appears in Mos Eisley Cantina opposite Greedo, and Greedo shot first, everybody, I'm not having it any other way. Han was defending himself.
Right.
I was hooked for life.
Yeah.
And my Star Wars fandom is now as crazy as the craziest of the crazies out
So
there.
you have your father to thank for forcing
I do.
you to watch it.
Yeah.
What
Yeah.
a kind man.
It's weird because it's my dad that also probably the most important inspiration for me as a writer is Blade Runner. And it was my dad that bought me the VHS of Blade Runner and said, you have to sit and watch this. This is incredible.
Yeah,
my
really
dad
interesting.
knows what he's talking about. My dad loves good sci-fi. I think it was my dad that said once, and this is so true, the sci-fi genre is unique because great sci-fi eclipses every other genre. But average sci-fi can be unwatchable, whereas an average Western or an average thriller, you can still sit and get through it. But average to poor sci-fi is almost unwatchable, and I have to agree with that. When it's done well, it's incredible. When it's not, it's a slog, to get through.
It's really interesting. There is such a variety too, even with what we're talking about right here. Like to compare E.T. and Star Wars, like they almost don't feel like they're in the same genre, but arguably they are. They both have aliens. So that definition can vary greatly.
I'd never considered Jason and the Argonauts until you said it earlier about Harryhausen stop motion. But of course, that is a form of science fiction.
True.
I don't know if in my brain I was, it's Greek, it's ancient Greek history.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
But, I'm not daft enough to think that skeletons genuinely rose from the grave.
No,
back
that's
in
not really
ancient
part of
Greece
history, is
and
it?
started
Yeah.
a sword fight, no.
Yeah, maybe.
And I went to college to make sure.
Years and years of studying history.
Yeah, it's years of studying history to make sure. But how do you put Jason and the Argonauts up against Avatar?
Exactly.
And say, they're the same genre.
Yeah,
Can't do
it's
it.
so crazy.
We need to get back to you losing your virginity here.
Right.
E.T. and Star Wars disturbed you, so they're not going to
Yeah.
have been the films
And I never
that,
finished.
Yeah.
So yeah, you're right. So I still wasn't like I wasn't into it.
So what was the first one that where you finished,
Yeah.
lay back, had a cigarette, and enjoyed it, and could say I enjoyed that?
So that would be Jurassic Park, 1993.
Okay. Yeah.
And there was something about the trailer when I saw that in advance of the film that just grabbed me. And it wasn't that I was necessarily a huge Spielberg fan yet, because my previous experiences had been a bit varied, but there was just something about it, and I think every kid's into dinosaurs, right? I was just like so excited. I coordinated everything with my friends, got there early, but it was a whole thing. And it just blew me away. And it was the first time they used digital sound, like it was running off a separate disc, right? In surround. And again, this is at Center Mall in Hamilton where I saw E.T. The theater doesn't exist today, but those cinemas had really good sound. And so that was the first, like just that disc coming out at the beginning, like with the, it had the whole sound and everything else. It was beautiful. And so the whole experience was just terrific. And it all went downhill with Lost World, of course. But Jurassic Park did, I think, redirect the course of my life, in that it was watching that movie that, I wasn't thinking about sci-fi or, now I'm into sci-fi or anything like that. But it was just the sense of wonder and everything else about it that really made me realize that I wanted to go into film.
Yeah.
Right, that's the
touchstone
turning
movie.
point for me. Yeah. So what
That's
about
interesting.
you? Did you have a film where it was like, oh, now I have to go into film?
I always loved Westerns. Were my first love. I think my dad loved. I think they were on a lot, so I always loved Westerns.
Well, that's a different show. So
that is a different podcast. But you know, and what happened was, I distinctly remember. I don't remember coming up with it, but I remember telling my granddad very seriously, as only a small child can do, that I changed my mind. I'm not going to be a cowboy. I'm going to be an actor that plays a cowboy.
Yeah,
that was
very
going to be
cool.
That's my grandpa, God bless him, saying, I think that's a wise decision because the pay's a lot better. And that's sorry. There was never a time where I can't say I have any conscious thought when I wasn't going to make movies in some form or another.
Yeah.
But Raiders was the first one where I went, it doesn't just have to be Westerns. And Blade Runner was the one where I was like, okay, we can make a sci-fi for a mature audience. That was the first time I went, this isn't just for kids.
Yeah.
Science fiction can be for anybody. And it can be gritty and real and deal with modern day themes. Yet still set in this fantastical world where you can get lost in.
Yeah.
I would say probably those Raiders and then Blade Runner would be the ones where I really started to think about how beyond just I like to do this for a living to thinking about creating my own worlds and my own stories, I guess.
Yeah, that's really interesting.
Actually, I want to go back to what you said about Jurassic Park, because we are both huge fans of the movie Jaws. I think that's one of the first things we bonded over when we first met was Jaws. So I'm just intrigued. Were you a fan of Jaws when Jurassic Park came out, or did your fandom of Jaws come after? You hadn't seen it yet? Right.
No, it wasn't really until college where I was surrounded by, like in film school, all these other guys who, were talking about these movies all the time and the ones they loved. And so I think I almost treated it like homework, where I would start watching these movies. And that's when I saw Blade Runner, and that's when I saw Jaws, and even Indiana Jones. I don't know that I'd spent a lot of time with it until I was in college, and then I went through and I watched all of them and loved it. Right before that, Back to the Future, I think I'd seen. That would have been,
I was going to ask you about that. Because that passed me by in the 80s. I never saw it. I don't know how.
Oh, I saw it in the theater, actually. I saw it as it came out.
Did you? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I didn't see it until I was about 25. It's
okay.
ridiculous. You know how something will just pass you by?
Totally.
I don't know how when you look back.
And I remember having debates with the guys in college, because I did make a point of going back and watching all of Star Wars at that point. And they were Star Wars diehards, like yourself.
Yeah.
I'm going to get some enemies out of this, but I've just never loved it. I've enjoyed Star Wars, but I've never loved it.
Yeah.
And I remember having debates where it was like, I actually prefer Back to the Future and Indiana Jones if I had to choose a trilogy or,
You're perfectly entitled to be wrong.
Right. Thank you.
We all have the right to be wrong. I'm kidding. If you ask me, right, hand on the Bible, all-time favorite movie franchise, I'm going Indiana Jones. I adore it. So I get where you're coming from.
I'd probably agree with you. Yeah.
But I think your relationship with these things has to start young for that love. So it's almost like I think college might be too late for you to then get into Star Wars and have that same level of love for it that we do.
Right.
Because we're 8, 9, 10 years of age, genuinely wondering if there is a galaxy far, far away.
Right.
Whereas you're at college and you're aware of this pop culture phenomenon.
Gotcha.
And I guess when you're in college, the prequels are just
they
dropping.
were coming out
Phantom
around
Menace,
then.
So I think you're coming at it from an adult perspective.
Yeah.
Which is just harder, isn't it? It's harder to get that same level of love. That emotional tie to it. Whereas when you're a kid, you buy into it all entirely completely.
Don't you? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so on that notion, it's important to note that Ian is a writer and an actor, and in particular, you've done a lot in the writing realm. You have piles of scripts that a lot of them are in the sci-fi genre, and they've garnered a lot of great awards in that that I find very impressive. To what degree have they been sort of influenced by some of these films that you've seen?
I think they all will have been influenced by something to some extent.
Yeah.
Because now the irony is, if you ask me my favorite sci-fi films, they're going to be Star Wars related, as in what I love the most.
Yes.
I've not written anything close to that style of science fiction, as you well know.
Right. Yes.
And that's not because I don't love it. It's because I can't write it. I can't write that.
It
that
just
style
come out of you naturally.
No, it doesn't. I think my voice is more lent towards cynicism and the Blade Runner kind of sunshine, alien type of science fiction, intelligent, grounded science fiction dealing with modern day themes is more my style.
Yes.
Really, every sci-fi film you watch that you enjoy or you think is good is going to have some sort of impact upon you.
Yeah.
But the key is to not let it influence your plot or influence your character choices. So you are coming up with something clean and new, just shown in a slightly different way. But I've always found it intriguing that the stuff that I love the most is the stuff I can't write. I just can't. I'd love to be able to write an action adventure story like Indiana Jones. I can't do it. I don't know how. But I don't know how to do that. I couldn't do it. So it's not always the stuff you love the most that can influence you. It's the stuff that impresses you on a thematic level where you can see through it and say, we're having good fun here watching Blade Runner. But the theme that's underneath, if you're willing to look for it, is a really interesting question about morality, isn't it? Blade Runner's about morality. And as you know, with Adiona that we're developing at the moment, morality is one of the key themes of that film. The casual viewer would look at Adiona when we've shot it and look at Blade Runner and go, there's no linkage whatsoever. They wouldn't see it. But it's the thematic side of it that influences, I guess, to keep asking those questions.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think this is the type of film that I'm more likely to seek out now, is something that feels like it's got that like thematic richness. You know what I mean? And and that's probably what sort of drew me to you in the beginning, because for people who don't necessarily know, Ian and I met because I was in pursuit of a sci-fi script that I could direct, and it led me to one of Ian's, and I really liked it, and I reached out to him, and we hit it off, and yada yada yada. Here we are being a podcast.
Here we are.
But the point is, what I loved about it, the first script that I read was Adiona, was that it was had those strong themes that represent humanity, right? And give us that kind of look back on who we really are. And I think as you sort of become a more mature, maybe conscious viewer, you look for things in a different way. As a kid, I would never have, sought to find a film that has, dramatic themes that look back on humanity, right?
Yeah.
But as an adult, it's like, yes, you're looking for that richness, that depth of theme. Yeah.
And not let it punch you in the nose either.
Yeah.
You'd hope that the way that we've developed this movie it's a sci-fi thriller that you can enjoy based on the fact that it's a sci-fi thriller and you're not really sure what's going to happen next, and it just keep you on the edge of your seat.
Yeah, it's all kind of hidden in
it's hidden
this plot and
so if you want to look for it, it's there, but it's not bashing you about the head.
Right.
I think we agree on this.
Yeah.
Principally, you don't want people to come to the cinema to give them a lecture. You
No.
want to entertain them. You want to send them away entertained and happy. But for the portion of the audience that are looking for the depth, it has to be there for them as well.
That's right.
And I hope that's the thing we've straddled.
Yes, absolutely.
With Adiona.
It's about that idea that you come away from it when it resonates. You know what I mean? You're thinking about it the next day or later on. It's not just all plot. And which reminds me of one of the great films that stuck with me for literally days is Interstellar.
It's fantastic, isn't it?
Yeah, I didn't see it in the theater. I saw it, on video or whatever at home. But and I've watched it twice now. And the first time I watched it, it was 4 days before I shook the feeling it left inside of me.
Yeah,
You know what I mean, the
That's
second time I watched
incredible,
it was like 2 days. I think, in particular, for me, it was like the whole relationship with his daughter and that, and how it all got left in the end. Really resonated. It just kind of leaves you with this where's time going? What's happening?
Yeah.
Right.
And yet that's not the plot. That's nothing to do with the plot of the film.
No,
that's the depth.
It's like buried in the theme. Yeah. But that's what you leave with, and that's what sits with you. What's your thought
fantastic.
on Interstellar? Yeah.
One of the greats. It's my favorite Nolan film.
Agreed. Yeah.
It really is. Inception was fantastic as well. I mean, he's a great filmmaker. But Interstellar, I feel, has got more heart than almost any sci-fi film I can think of, to be honest with you.
I know.
And it's incredible performances from McConaughey and Jessica Chastain and Michael Caine, and what a cast. Honestly, Anne Hathaway, they're all fantastic in it. It's one of those films where it's a pleasure that its runtime is like 2 hours, 45 minutes, or something like that.
Yeah.
And that's always the sign of a great movie to me, is where you're sat there transfixed and you don't realize you're coming up towards the end of a 3-hour movie. That's when they've just nailed it.
Yes.
Interstellar's an important film as far as I take inspiration from, because Interstellar's the movie where I went, you can do great sci-fi and make it scientifically accurate. You don't have to take these great leaps.
Yes.
Which are beyond quantum and experimental physics. Everything in there is born out of Einstein's theories of relativity.
Right.
So there's no kind of fantasy aspect to it.
Yeah.
And I think that's really important, because it feels as incredible as the movie is and as expansive as it is, and they go and visit a different galaxy. It doesn't feel like it feels real.
Yeah,
which
totally.
It's an incredible achievement, really, if you think about it. They're going to go through a wormhole into a different galaxy to explore possible habitable planets.
Yeah.
And you sit there thinking, you feel like you're watching something that's realistic.
Absolutely.
And that's an incredible achievement.
It really is. It's funny, I saw a post, I think it was on Instagram or something the other day, that said the length of time since Interstellar came out is only an hour and a half on what's the name of the planet where they go?
Oh, really? By the Event Horizon, yeah.
Yeah.
Is that true? Yeah, that's an hour and a half. Yeah, I suppose it would be. Yeah. Because they were down there for about 4 hours, and it was 27 years or something or something like that.
It just messes with your mind in such a wonderful way.
Yeah.
I love that.
And I'd never understood relativity, because I wasn't very good at science. And I still don't think I do. But I've got a far better understanding of relativity now because of Interstellar than I did 5 years of schooling doing physics. But it's just straight.
I'm sure it's required watching now. And physics class.
Well, yeah, it just shows you if you can present the information in an appealing and entertaining way, people can take on the most complex of things that they'd never possibly understand otherwise.
And truthfully, I think that this is a bit of a shift we're going to see in terms of the, film industry, especially for independents. Film for film's sake is like dying. You can't just make a film that doesn't have some greater significance, that doesn't have some ability to resonate with people around a subject matter. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I think for independents, the future is about associating your film with either causes or bigger ideas. Or does that make any sense?
Yeah, it does. I think it's because there's so much choice out there now that films will get lost. Yeah. They'll just fall through the cracks. Even if they get made. I mean, we found this, haven't we, when we're going out for distribution, and I feel like the marketplace has changed. Mm-hmm. They're looking for who their audience is going to be, not based on a demographic of how many tickets can we sell, but based upon who's this aimed at, and are the themes relevant to modern day causes, which I feel like that wouldn't have been part of a marketing plan for a film distributor 25 years ago.
No, it's all about associating.
Who can we put on the box office?
Yeah. It's all about like aligning the film with communities that already exist in many ways.
Yeah.
All right, Ian, I think our time is up, but it's been delightful going back down memory lane here.
It has. Mm-hmm. And we've barely scratched the surface. So there's so much content, so much drivel that we can talk about these wonderful films that I would imagine there's another 400-500 episodes of this podcast just waiting to be recorded.
People are just on the edge of their seat waiting for it. Yeah.
They're all hitting on to unsubscribe right now. Unsubscribe.
Is that our call to action? Hit unsubscribe now if you're tired of this.
Hit subscribe, but you've got to hit subscribe first.
Yeah.
Hit subscribe to the podcast first, then listen to it, and then hit subscribe. Just be fair. That's all. That's right. Be fair.
That's right. But if you do enjoy nerding out on science fiction in particular, we'd love to have you stick around.
Absolutely. We'll be here.
We'll be here yakking about it.
We'll be here.
All right. So from both Canada and the UK, thanks for listening, and we'll see you again soon.
Popcorn in Orbit is produced by the Shooting Eye and Ice River Pictures.